So I got a comment from a user a couple weeks ago, and I'm finally getting around to doing this discussion. And Jack Keck asks, and by the way, Jack, thank you for asking me this, and thanks for the video idea. All right, so hey man, can you do a point versus point reason as to why you prefer either Wildlands or Breakpoint, one over the other? I'm having a hard time finding a solid reason to choose one game over the other game from a gameplay point of view, as personally, I don't care about graphics. Now, before I do begin to answer this question, Jack, I just want to say this to everyone. I hope we all can understand what this gentleman just asked me. He's asking me for what my preference is on which game has the better gameplay. So this video will not be discussing the characters, the story, and like the timeline and, all that stuff. We're just going to be kind of just focusing on the gameplay of these two games. And really, I'm just giving you guys my opinion on which one I think has the better gameplay. Wildlands does the setting, the storyline, the timeline, and the characters all better. It does all those things better. And that's about it. Because Breakpoint steps in and basically wins in every other aspect. Now, Breakpoint has the better gameplay. It's much more smooth. I just had to do that, didn't I? And there's more of a differentiation in the weapons because they aren't all just one-shot killers like they are in Wildlands. So basically in Wildlands, every center mass shot that you do in stealth is a kill. Always, a single shot in stealth will get you that kill. In Breakpoint, each weapon has a unique damage number to it. I mean, Wildlands does as well, but I mean, just the way the way the enemies react to these damages in Wildlands, it becomes one-hit kills in stealth. But in Breakpoint, you might need like a few more bullets. You guys know how it works in Breakpoint, right? So the TTK in Breakpoint is a lot is a lot higher because you need to spend a little bit more time killing them. But in Wildlands, again, they'll die really quick, and that can really affect the gameplay. Because it can make things be over before they even begin. Now, is it better in Breakpoint or is it better in Wildlands? Well, in my opinion, guys, I think Breakpoint has the better gameplay because they even added a further set of weapon upgrades once the Operation Motherland update came out, and it was called the Weapon Mastery upgrades. You guys already know, man. It allows you to fully maximize your weapon's capabilities, like recoil, range, or whatever it is. I don't even remember the three now off the top of my head, but because this isn't scripted, by the way, this is just a random discussion I'm recording. All of these usually not scripted, top of my head, okay, buddy? Just want to get that in there before I continue. So if you're in the mood to like approach in stealth, and you want to walk around with your nice over-the-shoulder aiming, that's where in Breakpoint, those mobility upgrades, especially in those weapon mastery upgrades, really make your character speed walk. And I've always said this in my weapon loadout videos, if you remember, like a demon. And that's what the mobility parked all the way up allows you to do. So in Wildlands, I really do think the gunplay is fun as hell, but I always found that in Wildlands, the bullets kind of feel like they're firing slowly, like they're traveling slowly when I shoot them. I don't know if I may have said this before on the channel. Either way, guys, that criticism right there may not be what others have experienced. It might just be me who feels like the bullets travel slowly when I shoot them in Wildlands. Either way, guys, again, it's not really that noticeable, and again, it may only be me who feels that. But in Breakpoint, I feel like I don't get that. When you shoot targets, it's clean and it works, and there's no slowness to the bullets. But anyways, guys, aside from that, one amazing thing about Ghost Recon Wildlands is the render distance, okay? And this is the most important thing when it comes to the gameplay of this game, in my opinion, because when it comes down to a shooter, the main core thing to your gameplay is shooting. So when it comes to engagement distances, that is very, very important to make your game good. Now, in Breakpoint, I believe you can only go up to like 530 meters or something like that. I don't know, it gets a little messy around the 500 mark, but in Wildlands, you get a nice hard render distance of 600 meters, okay? And again, whereas in Breakpoint, it's like 500 to 530 or something like that. I think it's 500. But yeah, it's around there. Anyways, man, all I'm saying is that in Breakpoint, the engagement distances are not as it's not as far as the Wildlands engagement distances. So you're gonna have a much better time sniping in Wildlands. You're gonna have much better firefights in Wildlands, is what I'm trying to say, because the enemies are gonna engage you at much further out. But I know that the Spartan Mod kind of negates that in the Breakpoint side of things. So if you have the Spartan Mod on, it kind of negates that. But this video can't be discussing the two games and comparing them, based off of what the mods they offer, because then Wildlands gives you an FPS version. It's like, how could you even compare these anymore when one game is literally 2 games now? But you know, overall guys, I really think that Wildlands does have a really fun gunplay. The unpredictable scenarios that happen in Wildlands, you will experience those at unique varying distances. You're going to be more prone to getting enemy reinforcements on you, okay? Especially with the Unidad. It almost feels like Grand Theft Auto Wanted Stars. So once Unidad gets a hold of you, they'll just keep shoveling enemies at you, man. And it can open the door up for some really fun, entertaining things. But Breakpoint is not going to have this system. And another thing Breakpoint isn't going to have is the ability to call out airstrikes, to call out reinforcements, to call out, you know, a team of guys on your side, a team of rebels to go distract the enemy. So in Wildlands, you have these options that really elevate the combat as a whole that Breakpoint's just not going to have. Well, Breakpoint has missile strikes and rocket strikes, but it's all based on class systems. And that's another thing, okay? If you like class systems, then Breakpoint is your cup of tea, okay? Because in Breakpoint, I'll say this, I would say Breakpoint gives you more things to play around with. You're gonna have different classes with different special abilities of those classes. If you're a stealth player, Breakpoint is designed to be more of a stealth game, whereas Wildlands is designed more to be a squad-based like shooter. All right, so it's really up to you what you're thinking, because in Breakpoint it gives you systems set up to go both loud as well as really really fun, clean stealth. So I would say Breakpoint is a better stealth game. And it's also just like a better controlled game. It's just one of the smoothest games in terms of the control and how it feels with your player. I love it. I love the animations. I love the takedown animations. The fact that you can cut fences in Breakpoint, but you can't do those in Wildlands. You know, it's just they learned a lot from Wildlands going into Breakpoint. Despite what people think, I would say Wildlands has better DLC aside from Narco Road, but we don't talk about Narco Road, okay? We do not talk about Narco Road on this channel, all right? And if anyone does, you're getting kicked out of here, buddy. No, I'm joking, man. Narco Road is actually fun. And if you're someone who thinks that, oh, well, these games just feel like GTA, like, oh, Wildlands is just military GTA. Yo, if you play Narco Road, then you'll really think that this game's like GTA. Anyways, man, so overall, guys, my answer is this. Breakpoint from a gameplay perspective wins. Breakpoint from a graphics perspective wins, but that has nothing to do with this discussion because we're talking about gameplay. Breakpoint skills better because it has more options. Breakpoint gunplay better because the animations are better, the way the guns feel is better. However, the range and the enemy engagement distance in Wildlands is better. It's gonna get sniping is gonna be so much better in Wildlands. So there's gonna be some little takeaways there, boys and girls, okay? But overall, I would say if you have to pick one over the other, go with Breakpoint. A lot of the interesting features and a lot of the fun features of Breakpoint are baked within those classes. Now, if you really look at it and when it all boils down to it, when you look at the skill tree, sure, both games use a skill tree to kind of, you know, further progress your character builds and further increase like your skills in terms of like your drone battery life, the range of it, you know, how hard your bullets hit towards vehicles, different things like that, right? So you're gonna increase your character as you progress in both games. But when it all boils down to it, when it's all said and done, when you fully maxed out your trees, when you fully maxed out your classes and whatnot, and at the end of the day, guys, Breakpoint is gonna offer you more gameplay things. Like overall, okay, like all those skills, when it all tallies up, Breakpoint's gonna have more options for you to play with once you're all said and done, all those unlocks. So in Breakpoint, I would say there's more replayability in terms of having those unlocks and in terms of being able to play the game in unique ways because you have these features at your disposal. Whereas in Wildlands, it's more of a focused experience. It's more of a Ghost Recon focused experience because it's less of that and more of you just working with your squad and you know, going through these things. But you know, at their core, both games do this at their core, obviously, right? But I would say that in Breakpoint, again, you're gonna have a lot better unlocks to play around with. I'll just say straight up, man. Straight up, you'll have more unlocks to play around with. But in Wildlands, again, you're gonna have those better features in combat. Like the ability to call in reinforcements is so fun, man. It really elevates again those fights. But in Breakpoint, you can't do that. You can't call in reinforcements. weapons. You can't call in a group of resistance fighters to, you know, distract the enemy and you know, give a pocket of troops over this hill here and distract the enemy while you move in on the front gate of the base or whatever. You can't do that in Breakpoint but playing solo, but in Wildlands you can. Again, in Breakpoint, some of the skills are going to have those airstrikes. Like for example, the Pathfinder class has it baked in. So yeah, you can call it your Armor drone and you can rain hell on the enemy, but if you're playing co-op, that's the only way you can have that happen and still be able to shoot. And also, if you are a stealth guy, if you are the type of person, if you're a stealth guy or girl, sorry, or anything in between, Breakpoint has the better stealth. Okay, I feel like Ghost Recon Breakpoint was built to be a stealth game, like whereas Wildlands is built more to be, again, like a kind of your typical Ghost Recon experience, like that squad-based action shooter, kind of like Ghost Recon 2 vibes I get a little bit. But you know, but Breakpoint, I feel like if you're in the mood for stealth, Breakpoint is a game that's built and designed better to be a stealth game. Okay, this game was built literally to be a stealth solo game. If you exploring alone, okay, you get to throw bullet lures. You know, the shadows affect you in different ways. Your foot noise and stuff when you're walking. Like Wildlands doesn't have these things. Okay, that as far as it goes in Wildlands is like if you're using a rifle, which I do. This is one thing I think Wildlands does better than Breakpoint. So in Breakpoint, you can use a pistol or an assault rifle up close to a few enemies, take one of them out. The other teammates may not realize that their buddy just got shut down. But in Wildlands, if you fire an assault rifle that's silenced near a group of enemies, they will hear that bullet and they will start to investigate. But in Breakpoint, you can get away with it. It's a little bit more arcadey in terms of like the weapon noise that your weapons make. You could pretty much stand next to a guy with a 50 caliber sniper, even though there's no 50 caliber snipers in Breakpoint because the weapon ammos are all wrong. Aside from that, you know, if you shoot in Wildlands like with a big rifle near enemies, they're gonna hear it. But in Breakpoint, again, it's arcadey. You can shoot a big ass TAC 50 right next to a guy, and his buddy right across the street will not hear that round go off. Okay, but in Wildlands, you got to be a little bit more. You know, you got to pay more mind to that. So in Wildlands, it kind of wants you to switch to your sidearm to your pistol, because your silenced pistols make less noise in Wildlands. So Wildlands might be a little bit more interesting in that regard, but overall Breakpoint's stealth experience is much more well-rounded. It's built better. You know, you got Panther class, you got the Echelon class, but even other classes too. Like you can stealth like a total demon in Breakpoint, no problem with either of the classes offered. Again, Breakpoint's just built so well to be a stealth game. So overall, guys, I would say because Ghost Recon, you know, is supposed to be a mix of clandestine and going loud in your ops, I would say that Breakpoint as a whole will give you, again, more options for that, but I really do think that the engagements in Wildlands are so much better because, again, they're at different distances, more unique variables in terms of how far the enemies will engage you, whereas in Breakpoint, I feel like the gun battles can sometimes be over before they even start, whereas in Wildlands, if you get into a gun battle, you best believe reinforcements are coming in, man. So Wildlands gunfights will carry out a lot longer, and I have proof of this, guys. Watch my gameplay videos. My gameplay videos in Breakpoint versus Wildlands, you'll see those differences. That's kind of why I like to do them too. I really enjoy the cover system in Breakpoint. I think it works. It's not too sticky. It's not too over the top. You can easily get into cover. You can easily peek around by lightly, you know, just aiming around the object. I think it works so incredibly well. So yeah, man, in Wildlands, it's a much clunkier experience, but I also don't want to say that it's bad because every game is going to get clunky as it ages, right? Wildlands is like 7 years old now, but even when you like look at Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 1 or 2, for example, I can still hop in those games from like 2006 and still have a great time. They are what they are, right? So I wouldn't say and also I wouldn't even like compare Breakpoint and Wildlands because they were made by different teams, by different peoples for different reasons, you know, at different time periods. But I mean, at the end of the day, because they're so similar and one's a sequel to the other, oftentimes they get compared. But overall, guys, I'll say this. I know this video is mostly about the gameplay, but I think this ties into the gameplay too, because in Breakpoint, you can switch on to Operation Motherland, and this is another reason as to why I think Breakpoint's better than Wildlands, because if you're someone who likes the mission structure of Wildlands, Breakpoint basically fixed that by adding Operation Motherland, okay? And it's basically a system of missions that plays out exactly like the missions play out in Wildlands, and it gives you that beautiful mission tree that Wildlands had that we all kind of wanted, because in an open world, I really felt like, and I think the GR community really felt like that Wildlands mission mission structure fits so beautifully well into the open world, whereas Breakpoint's mission structure can be a little annoying, and that can take away from the gameplay experience, man. Having to fast travel across the world to talk to someone, just to go across the world there to talk to someone else, just to go fetch something over here, just to go there to shoot the guy and then take his body back to there. It's just so fucking annoying, man, because the game takes you all over the place, whereas the missions in Wildlands, say the mission is in a specific spot or region, those missions are going to be contained within that region. But Breakpoint, it's like it makes you go all over the fucking game world and nothing feels cohesive about it. And another thing that Breakpoint does really well that Wildlands didn't have is it has a camo system, like a cover system, where you can blend yourself into the ground, into whatever environment you're in. If you're in the mud, you'll smear mud on your face and you'll hide, and it works great. And they also included a little mechanic called Azrael drones, and basically they're overhead flying drones that can detect you, and then they can send enemies to you. So having those turned on, mixing that with, you know, the ability to do your prone camo can really, you know, set the mood when you're really in the mood to feel like you're behind enemy lines. So Wildlands never had that option. You couldn't like smear mud on your face or smear snow on your face and all over your body to hide and do that prone camo, but Breakpoint included that. And again, it was one of the best features that Breakpoint offers, and not many other games have that feature. I don't think any other games do this. I think Breakpoint was like the first to do it, but please correct me if I'm wrong, all right? Breakpoint just looks so polished from an animation perspective. It looks like real humans doing real things, whereas in Wildlands it's very boxy. The movement is very boxy, and it kind of feels like like when you're watching Batman Begins versus like The Dark Knight, where like Batman didn't have like his cowl yet, or he didn't have that updated cowl that allowed him to move his head freely. Whereas in Batman Begins, like if Batman wanted to turn his head, his whole body had to kind of turn into that motion. So Wildlands kind of feels like that, so it might be a little clunky, but overall Breakpoint is definitely smoother. It's just a lot better. It runs better, and again, you have that prone camo, and that really can elevate your stealth in this game, okay? And Breakpoint is the better stealth game, okay? Between all the different classes, you got like Echelon class, Panther class, and these classes, again, they include things for you to play with that are within, you know, the stealth kind of scope. So, you know, there's a lot of things for you to play around with there. And overall, guys, I would give Breakpoint the gameplay thing. However, in my opinion, Wildlands is the better game. Like, Wildlands is my favorite of like all the Ghost Recons at this point, and it's only because of just how fully fleshed the world is, and having a world that's so fully fleshed out can really immerse me more. And there's something about Wildlands, guys, there's something about it, and I know that if you've played both and if you're in the same camp as me, you know exactly the feeling I'm talking about, is that there's something about Wildlands that it's just better, okay? And I really think it has to do with the world and the gameplay loop and just how everything just fits, and it just works so well. Whereas in Breakpoint, if you're playing the base game unmodded, not with the Spartan mod, you know, like if you're exploring, you're gonna come across some really jarring, dead open areas that are underutilized. So when you're all said and done the campaign, sometimes it's great to have all these amazing unlocks that Breakpoint gives you, but if the game isn't gonna give you enough bases, enough enemies that are populating these areas, a lot of it goes to waste, okay? And that's where in Wildlands, I feel like it's got a better gameplay loop, because I feel like every 30 seconds I'm getting into some sort of combat, or I'm coming across a new base or a new little town or a new thing to check out. Whereas Breakpoint, you're gonna have less of that, okay? So Breakpoint is gonna be you're gonna be a lot more patient of a gamer to enjoy Breakpoint, but I think that the gameplay features that it includes are better as a whole than Wildlands. However, I gotta say that Wildlands is my favorite game based on these two, and I think that you will seriously enjoy the gameplay of Wildlands if you're someone who can get behind kind of older controls, who can get behind the games feeling a little clunky, because, you know, games age, all right? But, you know, I've always never had an issue playing old games before. I've always accepted them for what they were when they were released. You know, no game is going to be fully smooth for its entirety. I mean, sure, some games age really well, but Wildlands is definitely a little clunky in the movement department, and I know some people feel that. So, you know, those are my thoughts, guys. And also, something that Wildlands offers that Breakpoint doesn't is a Ghost Mode playthrough. So after you've beaten the game, you unlock Ghost Mode, which is pretty much a permadeath playthrough. So if you die, you lose that character. And Breakpoint does not offer a bonus game mode like that for an increased sense of difficulty. They also don't include Tier 1 mode, which Wildlands does. And in Tier 1 mode, it basically allows you to apply that to your main profile, and it basically increases the enemy difficulty, increases their awareness. It's almost like a Spartan mod for the Wildlands game, to a degree, not to the same degree, but to a degree. If I had to kind of describe it, in simple terms there. So Wildlands includes those things, but one thing that Breakpoint has over Wildlands, which I think kind of trumps it all, is those ghost experience parameters, the ability to turn off HUD. Well, you can turn off HUD in Wildlands too, but in Breakpoint you have a further set of features that allow you to customize your gameplay experience. So you can turn off enemy drones, you can turn off Azrael patrols, that thing I mentioned earlier. You can turn off, like, you know, helicopter patrols in the world, or you can turn them on to make them more frequent. Breakpoint also included a really nice thing called Amber Sky event. So we got some free events in Breakpoint you can also check out, which are kind of like free DLC to the main campaign. If you reach the end of this video and like you've heard all I've had to say, now I think you have a good indication of which game maybe is for you. But make your own opinions, decide for yourself, even pick up both if you can. If you can pick up both on sale, I would recommend just burning through both of them one at a time, because I really don't think you should miss Wildlands. But I mean, like, if you are short on cash or on money, whatever, I would say just go for Breakpoint, because it's the most up-to-date game. It's the most modern Ghost Recon game. Before I close this off, I forgot to mention that, well, I guess it kind of ties into the different classes and what they offer. But for example, in Breakpoint, you have more MVG options, because you don't just have the blue thermals, the greens, you have also the white hot MVGs, the FLIR, and that's specific to the Pathfinder class, and that's exactly the class I run constantly. 100% of the time is usually Pathfinder for me, and I actually can get some great stealth out of Pathfinder as well. So if you guys do want to see that in action, I got plenty of gameplay videos up for you guys to check out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Once again, leave a like, drop a comment, let us know your thoughts, because buyers aren't going to listen to me, man. They're gonna skip the video. They're gonna go right to the comments to see what the people have to say, okay? And you people are the best people ever, so thank you guys for being here once again. Leave a like, leave a comment, take it easy, and I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Ciao.